Hello again, horror fans, and welcome to another one of my random videos. For this one, we're going to be taking a look at my video nasty collection. Now, this is going to be a fairly long video, so I'm going to have to split this one owing to YouTube's 10-minute limit. So, just, look underneath at the end of this one, or check the column to the bottom right of your screen to see the other vids in this collection. So, on with the vid. I'm sure collectors of cult films will have heard of what video nasties are, but just to clear up any confusion as to what I'm on about, just in case, video nasties were a collection of low-budget horror films that were released onto video back in the early 1980s, which the UK government then tried to prosecute and ban under the Obscene Publications Act. Now, the reason this came about was because, unlike today in the UK, back then there was no actual legal requirement to submit video films to the censors prior to release, so distributors could pretty much release whatever they wanted. Unfortunately though, the press then started complaining about the availability of some of the films, saying that they weren't suitable for viewing in the home and please think of the children, etc, etc. So the government decided they had to be seen taking a stand against these so-called extremely violent videos. So they published a list of films that they felt were liable to be in breach of the Obscene Publications Act and tried to ban them by prosecuting the distributors and retailers that were selling them. Of course, what was silly about all this was just a knee-jerk reaction on the government's part, who, being a load of old fuddy-duddies, weren't very media literate. They had no idea about the real contents of these films and so didn't know which ones they should go after. So basically, they were basing their list on either recommendations for the press, the film's lurid title, or the graphic box artwork, which isn't exactly very good criteria when it comes to banning movies now. As a result, the films in the list that they wanted to prosecute kept changing from month to month, and when they actually started to view them, they realised that there was no way they could prosecute anyone for selling such badly made rubbish, which the vast majority of these were. I mean, this has caused a lot of confusion over the years as to how many films were actually on the list or what titles were included. It's not helped by the fact that the press used the term video nasty quite freely to describe virtually any of the unclassified horror films being released at the time, not all of which were actually on the government's official list. I know the press still use the term video nasty occasionally today whenever they talk about unsavoury horror DVDs that are coming out, but generally, when cult film collectors like myself talk about video nasties, we're referring to the titles that appeared on the official government hit list from the 1980s, not any of the other films. Now, all told, there were 74 titles that appeared on the list at one time or another, but only 39 of these were actually successfully prosecuted. So, anyway, of the ones I've got, to kick things off with, first up, the film Anthropophagus The Beast, also known as The Grim Reaper. This was by cult Italian director Joe D'Amato, who you've probably heard of. Real name Astrid Massassi or something like that. He did most of the Black Emanuelle films with Laura Genza. This one's got Italian regular George Eastman in as the monster of the film. Basically it's about a shipwrecked sailor who's washed up on some remote tourist island. He's got a taste for human flesh and munches his way through the population. A group of tourists then turn up, led by Tisa Farrow from Zombie Flesh Eaters, and they start getting picked off one by one. Not a bad movie. It depends whether you're into corny Italian exploitation films or not. This is the US 2-disc edition by Shriek Show. Definitely the best version to go for. There is an uncut European release, but it's not got as many good extras on. This has got a lot of old interviews with the director and the cast and crew. The director's dead now, incidentally, so they're a nice addition. But yeah, it's heavily cut in the UK under the title The Grim Reaper, so don't get that one. If you're going to get it, get the US disc from Shriek Show. I'll give you the best one of the bunch. Right, another film on the list was actually the follow-up to that one. It was the film Absurd, or Anthropophagus 2. Now this is actually copied from a VHS source. It's not an official release. The reason being is there's only one official DVD release of this film to my knowledge. It's a German disc and it's in German language only and it's heavily censored, so it's not worth getting. This is an uncut film transferred from a VHS source. Again, not a bad movie. It depends whether you like these cheapo Italian gore films. George Eastman's in it again. This time he's playing an escaped mental patient who's on the run from his doctor. He's had some bizarre genetic experiments done on him and he can regenerate quickly. He starts off, he's taken to hospital after gouging his guts out on a fence. He quickly recovers and then goes on to kill all the patients and hospital staff as one poor guy gets his head shoved in a bandsaw, a nurse gets her head stuffed in an oven. Pretty good. It's not excessively gory though. Arguably Anthropophagus was the more gory of the two, but Yeah, again, not bad, but it's sort of difficult tracking down an uncut copy of this now, owing to a lack of decent releases. Definitely needs a US DVD release, I reckon. Next on the list, the film Axe, or the California Axe Massacre. Now, this one is available uncut in the UK, but this is the US disc from Something Weird Video. Again, I think the US disc is the best one to go for, because it's got a lot of extras that aren't on the UK disc. It's a cross between sort of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Last House on the Left and I Spit on Your Grave. Group of criminals hold up at a farmhouse and do some unsavoury things to the farmer's daughter, who they're holding hostage, who manages to break free and gets her revenge with an axe and various other farming implements. It's sort of okay, but again, depends whether you like low-budget horror films or not. Ah yes, one of many films about fictionalised Nazi atrocities, The Beast in Heat, or SS Hellcamp to give it its US DVD title. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Cinema Snob's YouTube channel, but he does an absolutely hilarious review of this under its alternate title, Horrifying Experiments in the SS Last Days. I have heard that this US disc is actually cut slightly. I'm not sure exactly what's missing from it, but I do have the Dutch video on my shelf somewhere, so I'll have to do a side-by-side comparison somewhere. But the US disc from, I think it's Exploitation Digital, is it? Yeah, Exploitation Digital. That's the most complete version you can see anywhere, because I think this is the only DVD release you can get. But it's a very bizarre movie. Some female SS, scientist develops this half-man, half-beast dwarf creature which hunts female POWs to death. It's very bizarre. Again, I won't go into too much detail, but check out the Cinema Snob's review on this film. It's bloody hilarious, I tell you. Yeah. Probably just got included on the list because it was dealing with Nazi atrocity, which is always a touchy subject. Now, The Beyond, Lucio Fulci, director of Zombie Flesh Eaters. One of several zombie films that got included on the list. This is arguably one of Fulci's best films. I did talk about this one a little bit in my video about my horror box set collections. Basically, he's got Catherine McCollin, who's a regular in a lot of these Fulci zombie films. She inherits this hotel which turns out to be haunted, and undead apparitions keep popping up and bumping off the staff in an assorted, gory ways. Very good film. David Warbeck's in it. He was also in a lot of Italian films. He's a doctor. The last 20 minutes of the film is spent with him and her trying to shoot their way out of a zombie-filled hospital. Very good film, very gory, and highly recommended. This is the US DVD from Anchor Bay. You can get this as a standard release, because I think this is the limited edition tin is sold out now, but you can get the standard release. Best version to go for, because it's got tons of extras on, including a commentary track with David Warbeck just before his death. So yeah, UK disc is uncut, but it's bad quality and hasn't got any extras. Now, I'm sure you might have heard of Mario Bava, the notorious Italian director. This is the film Bay of Blood, or Bloodbath as it was known as in the UK. This is one of the alternate US titles, Twitch of the Death Nerve. It's the same film though. Uncut version from Image Entertainment. About a bunch of people that are staying at a house that get bumped off in various nasty ways. A lot of the gore scenes in this were actually lifted and used in various Friday the 13th sequels, funny enough. I mean, there's a couple who get skewered in a bed together, which I know was used in one of the Friday the 13th films. Yeah, it's pretty good, nice little gory film. It's one of these Italian giallos, or whatever they call them. Comes highly recommended. Quite a good movie.